Yes, yes. I'd like to contact the early 2010s. What do you mean they don't take my calls? I'll just text them then. Or, good if this feels good. Not in a landfill, at least. Hey, everybody. It's time for Cassette Story today. And today's Cassette Story is going to be a little different because, for the first time on this show, the cassette in question, coming out of the old cassette case, is not a cassette I bought new. In fact, I bought it used, and at least 4 or 5 years after it came out. And I can say that the cassette was provided by our good friends at Marshall's very own Last Stop CD Shop, which is not only still open, they still have a wall of cassettes. Very affordably priced. They're not moving too quick. I haven't bought a cassette there in probably over a decade. But when I still was buying the occasional used cassette, this one caught my notice as one of the albums I remember getting pretty decent reviews, but I never picked it up. Because I don't actually remember why, but Kik Tracee. What? Yeah, no rules. For those of you not familiar, Kik Tracee was one of those, glam rock, hair metal bands, whatever you want to call them. But they had the unfortunate timing of coming around pretty late in the game of that genre. In fact, I think this album actually came out after Nirvana's Nevermind, which means it was pretty much dead on arrival on RCA Records. Now, I will say this, they had a good enough relationship with RCA Records that they actually did drop an EP called Field Trip EP. And that actually I got better reviews, and actually I bought that new before I even considered owning their first album, used or new. I later actually found this on CD used as well, on a really good deal. I think that was not at the Last Stop, though. I think I got that at the old sound station in Brookings. I miss that place. Anyway, this is the Kik Tracee cassette, which I bought used at Last Stop. I have since peeled the sticker off that showed it was like, I don't know, back then they were like 4 for $10. Now they're like 5 for $10, I think. Anyway, let's get to it. Now, of course, RCA Records. We're famous for the dog and the phonograph there, which is shown. And they also have the white cassettes. That was a big thing for RCA. They like their white cassette tapes, much like the RCA B&G Record Club that they were a part of. Now, of course, we have our booklet. You've got your band members right there. You've got the band actually had a logo. Look at that, the KT there. That's on the front of their train, I guess. And we've got some lyrics in here. Now, one of the songs on the album does not have lyrics, and that would be their cover of Simon and Garfunkel's Mrs. Robinson, a song that was also covered just a year or two later by a band called the Lemonheads, if you remember. And that one actually did pretty well, but I prefer this one. It's very much a... Lemonheads version was a bit more faithful. This version is kind of a boogie metal version of that song. And even people I've played it for who were big fans of Simon and Garfunkel had to say, yeah, that's a pretty good cover. So, that's a thing. Kik Tracee. Now, yeah, they did release an EP. I mentioned them. I don't know if that's ever going to come up in the show. I'm sure if I do every cassette I own, it will. But it was called the Field Trip EP, and it was their kind of experimentation with sounding more like the music that was coming into vogue, kind of more modern rocky. They had a song on there called Walking with a Dead Girl. Really good song. And another one on there called In Trance. Now, the lead singer of Kik Tracee, Stephen Shareau, the band, of course, didn't last much past the mid-90s. He went into developing music for CD-ROMs and computer games I heard this like 20 years ago. I think he has a Facebook page, and he's considered doing music, like he maybe has released music in a vein of Kik Tracee since then. I don't know. I should probably look into that, because I'm kind of curious, because this album is actually really good. I mean, the EP, Field Trip EP, is good, but when I picked this up, I was kind of blown away as to how good this album was, considering Field Trip was supposed to be better. I don't know if I'd call Field Trip better, but, the No Rules album is good enough. Let's say I found this on CD and picked it up. I have not since updated my copy of Field Trip. Right, I've never seen a CD copy of Field Trip. I'm sure that one wasn't exactly flying off the shelves, considering it was a hair rock band. It came out late in the game, didn't have any hits, and was an EP. Like But yeah, Kik Tracee. Used cassette, but yeah, showing that, I did miss some good ones from that whole era. I mean, I didn't listen to every hair rock band. Some people think I did. But I didn't listen to every hair rock band that dropped an album. But some are worth going back and finding. There's another band, a friend of mine, Aaron, a Denver band I'd never heard of, and they came out in '85, and actually it wasn't bad. I mean, nothing I'd seek out, but it wasn't bad. But anyway, you know what time it is. It's time for the moment of truth. And so far we've been perfect on the show. Will it still cassette? Well, alright, we'll feed you some Kik Tracee here. We'll try side A, or 1 in this case. And for a second there I thought we were going to have our first failure, but no, it's just in between songs. And this is Trash City. I remember that from the Sirens at the beginning. There were a couple hair rock bands that kind of had their urban blight songs. I'm not sure why. I just can't sing about sex all the time, or drinking. See? Also, little fact about Steven Chirot. He was on the short list of people to replace Vince Neil of Motley Crue when Motley Crue fired Vince Neil. But maybe my memory of reading the stories about it are a bit cloudy after all these years. We'll wait on you for a second. My memories might be a little cloudy of this over the years, but I think he actually could have gotten the job over John Corabi, but he said no because he wanted to stick with Kik Tracee. I'm not sure what the smarter move was there, really, because, I guess John Corabi has his fans now, which include Mick Mars and Motley Crue. Not so much Nikki Sixx anymore. It's weird that Nikki Sixx hates John Corabi now, but Vince Neil and John Corabi actually have gotten to know each other and are pals now. You just never know what direction life's going to take you some days. But yeah, I suppose I should play you a bit of their Mrs. Robinson cover. So we're going to do an extended episode where I'm actually rewinding. Yeah, this thing can rewind. Who would have thunk it? It doesn't have little AMS, though, and an automatic music sensor. Some of the fancier cassette players had that, where if you held on play and rewind, it would bump the tape head up and you'd hear this high-pitched squealing, and then as soon as it heard a silent part, it would stop and then cue back up and cue the song up for you. So that was kind of cool. Like I said, not many cassette players had that, but some did, and it was kind of neat. Didn't always work, especially if the songs were really close together. You needed an album where they had a good amount of space. Oh, here it is. Here comes the boogie part. Yeah. Did Art Garfunkel ever party that hard? Don't answer that. I don't really know. But anyway, that has been Cassette Story, Kik Tracee, surprisingly one of our longer episodes. So either I'm getting better at talking about this, or I had a lot more to say about Kik Tracee than I expected. So until next week, be kind, rewind, and eject.